All right, so now you've experimented with different settings on quantize by opening the piano roll with Command 4, okay, doing a select all Command A, and changing the quantize parameter here. Now let's go ahead and experiment with this swing knob here. So we can achieve a lot of the same results by this swing knob here. Maybe not that extreme setting we had before, which was kind of cool, but check it out. We keep it quantized to the 16th note, but then we can add swing here. So here's straight. You know what? Let's select them all. Let's increase the swing. There it goes. Let's go like halfway. Gives kind of that old school feel. Okay, so let's do like just maybe 15%. Okay, get the idea there. I like that. Now with velocity, we can actually change individual velocities, or we can change a whole row of velocities. So if you click in one of the parameters here, like the kick drum, and select it, it turns blue. Here's the hi-hats, okay? If you change this parameter, it's going to adjust all of them upon the scale that they're already at, okay? If you want to change individual ones, you need to go into your tool here and go into your velocity tool. And you can actually drag individual hits up and down here. If you don't want to use the velocity tool, you can be in the pointer still and just select one of the MIDI events and change the velocity here, and you'll notice the color changing and this line inside of there getting longer. Watch this. Longer and shorter, showing the intensity of the velocity. Okay. So you can actually go through and create a lot of velocity variations to create dynamics within your performance. I would say experiment with that, and let's see what kind of variations you can create with velocity, swing, and quantize. When you're happy with that, go ahead and close this piano roll. And when you play this region now, it'll be the way that you just edited it. Okay. One other fun thing about Ultra Beat, one last little note that I'll make is, notice when something plays, you see it light up in blue over here. Notice that you can pan elements. If you're listening in headphones right now, you're going to hear that the hi-hat and maracas are panned left and right. Okay, so by actually panning elements within your Ultra Beat, you can create a little more of a panoramic or a stereo image with your beat. It sounds kind of cool. I like having the hi-hats and any kind of higher stuff panned out, keeping the kick and the snare in the middle. All right, I really like that, so I'm going to leave that as it is. And we've already learned a lot about MIDI and the Ultra Beat, quantizing, and a little bit about the velocity. So now let's move on. And I created that earlier, so I'm going to show you how to create a bass track. Okay, so now I'm going to go into Command Option N, or if you ever forget that, just go to Track, New Track. Also, when you do New Track, you can actually do just a new software track, and it'll make a new software track. Command Z that. If you go into here, it will open up this track dialog as well. So a bunch of ways to make a new software track. So let's open up this choose a track type dialog. And notice this, when I create an audio track, it is got the audio icon, and in the mixer, it's blue. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to Command Option N, create a software track in a second, and you're going to see it's going to be green. Okay. So now if the details triangle is open, then you can create an empty channel strip where you can load your software instrument after you create this track, or you can load it right here. Okay, so I could load like a sampler right here, create that, and then find a patch from here. Okay, I could even open the sampler, go through, and look through all the factory patches here. That's one way to do it. And I'm going to actually delete that. Close the library. This is the library here, by the way. And I'm going to Command Option N, software instrument. I'm going to create an empty channel strip. Okay. Now this says open library here. You can turn that on or off. Let's have that open or on. And what that does, it creates an empty instrument MIDI track, opens up the library, and shows you all the various possibilities within the library. So you can actually go right into any one of these. Look at all these instruments that you have. This is one of the great things about Logic, is you have so many great instruments right off the bat. These are all built in. So what I'm going to do instead, though, is I'm going to show you this. Command 2. Here's the track that we just made. Oh, look at that. That's funny. It made it blue. And I'm going to go into the setting here. So if you click on setting, you can come down here, choose Logic, and go by instrument. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you a preset. So let's start with the piano. And let's say like a Steinway piano club. So with the setting way to go, what it does is it opens up the Steinway piano in the sampler instrument with an EQ setting and a reverb. So it's a full channel strip. So if I go Command K and open up musical typing, there we go. We've got a full channel strip with reverb and everything. Right there on this one channel, just like that. Okay? So that's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and work with that Steinway piano. You could choose any of the pianos that you'd like, but let's go ahead and work with that for now. And rather than musical typing, I'm going to switch over to the actual MIDI keyboard. So it's going to be a lot easier to play piano parts on a MIDI keyboard. But for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show the keyboard. And what's going to happen is this is going to show the notes that I'm playing for you. They're going to light up in gray. See that? That way you can see the keys that I'm playing. Okay, now I can actually change the octave that I'm in on my MIDI keyboard. I can change the octave that you're seeing here. Okay. So that way you can see what I'm playing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play in a keyboard part, and this is what you're going to do after I demonstrate. So I'm going to come up with a chord progression and layer in a keyboard part that we can then manipulate and play with. So let's come up with a progression. All right, so a little bit of musical insight here, because that is what we're creating is music. If you're familiar with music theory, this will be total cake. If you're new to it, this might be really kind of new information for you. So the progression I'm hearing in my head is a D minor to a G major. And if you just play the triads, it's D, F, A, and then G, B, D. To make your piano part a little smoother, it's real nice to use an inversion. So I'm going to take, oops, sorry, doing the sideways here. And I'm going to put the root up an octave, and now I've created an inversion. That allows me to go to the G root position by moving just these two notes. This one stays the same. Okay, so there's a little bit of the music background. Now if I do Command 1, back into the tracks window, and I'm going to close the library just so we have a little more region, a little more space. What you can see is we've got our Steinway Club track here below our Ultra Beat, and it's record enabled. This is key. You want that record enabled so you can immediately start recording as soon as it comes in. Okay, a little bit of recording basics. When you go to record, you can set up a count in. I'm going to have 1 bar count in. I'm going to go to record metronome settings. Click while recording, and that's going to give me a count in, and click while I'm recording. So I can play in time, even though there's a drum beat. So I'm going to press R and start to play my progression. Now, if you mess up like I just did, just Command Z and record again. Okay, now let's play it again and listen back. Not bad. I can work with that. Okay, so you can see the keys that I'm playing here. We went over that, so I'm going to close this now, and we're going to look at what we recorded. So let's select that, Command 4, and there's our MIDI information. Okay, not super exciting or super smooth. So let's start by selecting all, Command A, and quantizing to the 16th note. Maybe let's select all, Command A, and quantize to swing B. Kind of nice. Okay, now I want this to sustain a little more and ring out. So I want to select these 3 and drag them over. And I'm going to select these 3 and drag them over. And watch what happens. A lot smoother, right? I tend to do that a lot because I'm not using a sustain pedal with the MIDI keyboard. So I can't use a sustain like a traditional piano. So I will do that to make up for it. Cool. So now we can mess with velocities if we want. I noticed this one I didn't play quite as even. These are 88. Let's find out what these are here. That one's 62, 58, 74, 88. These are a lot harder, right? So let's soften these up. And what are these? 68? Let's match. Okay, let's hear that. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Okay, I'm going to close this window. And right now I'm going to save Command S. All right, so I've got the Ultra Beat in here. I've got this piano performance in here, and it's okay. You know, it's not bad. We're going to fancy that up later. I'm going to show you some tricks with that. Right now, let's keep working on this idea of creating a new track. Command Option N, Software, Empty Channel Strip, Create. I'm going to go back into Setting, Logic, and choose Bass. Acoustic bass, electric bass, model bass, a lot of basses in here. I'm feeling like a upright, let's say studio upright bass, like a jazzy sound here. That gives me a sampler, an EQ, and a compressor. Cool. So let's check that out. Oops, I'm still, look at that. This is still record enabled, which is why I was hearing the piano. I want to be selected here and record enabled here. If I record enable here too, you're going to hear drums. We don't want that. All right, so let's hear this. So let me open the window for the keyboard again and show you what I'm doing. So I'm experimenting with D and G bass notes and putting in passing notes. And I'm experimenting with the D minor scale. D pentatonic actually at this point. So it's D, F, G, or 1, flat 3, 4, 5, 7, and 1, flat 7, 1. Put the blue note in there. All right, so now I'm going to hit play and experiment for a minute. What I'm demonstrating here is the difference between like a legato, long, kind of a bass note, legato, or as in sustained, versus a more staccato bass line. And more of a walking and a busy part. When you're doing bass, those are two things to consider. Do you want it to be more legato and mellow and more sustained, or more staccato and rhythmic and punchy? Okay, So I think I'm going to go with more of a legato because this is feeling pretty chill right now. So I'm going to hit R and record a couple passes. Oh, wait. I'm going to do that before I change anything and show you what happens. All right, so right now I've created take folders. Depending on what setting that you're on, you could be in a variety of settings. So let's look at that. So record overlapping MIDI recordings. So when you're recording MIDI, you can go to record overlapping MIDI recordings and decide with the cycle off, you can merge. So you can just keep playing. I'll show you what that does in a minute. But with the cycle on, which we do have the cycle on here, right now I'm on create take folder. Okay, just like an audio. Now, what we could do is pick our best take. We can't swipe comp, but we could pick our best take. Okay, and that, let's zoom, command right arrow, and I'm going to zoom in and show you this. So here is the take one. Here's take two. Okay, and I could keep doing takes until I have one that I like, and I don't have to worry because it's doing take folders. So let's try it again. Kind of like what I did there on one of those takes. So let's figure out what take that might be. So here's my most recent one. Let's hear that. Let's go down to take 6. Take 7. Okay, I kind of like that one. So now I'm going to close this disclosure window, and I don't need all those other takes. I could keep them and decide later, or right now I can flatten it and just go with the one I like the best. Okay, so that's not bad, but I want to modify part of that. So I'm going to go into the piano roll, and I'm going to modify this part right here. Okay, check this out. So I dragged it over to this next grid line so that it was more of a syncopated groove. I actually like that. I think I'll increase the velocity at the very first note. This note's a little weak. I'm going to pull that up a little. Okay, what if I Command A, quantize all this by the 16th and keep it straight. I like that. I want to hold this note a little shorter. Maybe just to Okay, so now another thing I could do is this. I'm going to hold Command and go to the pencil tool. So I'm pressing Command and it turns into a pencil. And I can enter notes. Create a note here. Slide it around. I could take this note and move it. What if I want to get rid of this one? Select it, Command X, slide that one in. Let's make that syncopated. Don't like that. Let's syncopate it here. Make this shorter. Connect those two. Okay. All right. So you get the idea. We can mess with that all day. Let's connect all that. Drag that out so it stands a little longer, and you get the idea. So now we have totally changed our little part, and that's reflected here. Okay. So I played my idea and then I modified it from there. And that gave me a little potential to kind of just play it through a bunch and experiment and listen after playing it. Pretty fun stuff.